Hi guys. The second hearing for the lawsuit between Heejin and HYBE confirming the termination of their shareholder agreement was held recently. I want to go over what was shared and try and make sense of it all. Obligatory disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer, this isn't legal advice, I'm just girly with opinions. HYBE notified Heejin that the shareholder agreement was terminated July 8, 2024. This case seeks to confirm their reasoning was valid, and it has now been merged with the lawsuit Heejin filed to secure payment for her put options. I'll try and break this down into 3 questions. What is a shareholder's agreement? What is a put option? And why is HYBE claiming the contract was terminated? Heejin is a minority shareholder in Ador with an 18% ownership stake. Shareholder agreements are meant to protect the interests of shareholders, especially smaller ones, and establish management guidelines. Despite owning 80% of Ador, HYBE does not have absolute control over the company's governance due to the protections outlined in this contract. One of those protections granted Heejin's CEO and creative authority over the agency, and HYBE was contractually obligated to vote in her favor on key internal matters. This is why Heejin was able to win her first injunction and stop HYBE from removing her as CEO during the May 31st extraordinary shareholders meeting. Shareholder agreements can include put options which usually grant a minority owner the right to sell their shares to another party. In this case, Heejin's put option gave her the right to sell her shares in Ador back to HYBE at 13 times the value. She attempted to cash this in following her resignation from the company in November 2024. Due to the success of NewJeans and the value of Ador at the time, her payout would be quite significant. Unfortunately for Heejin, HYBE said, "Nah, you ain't getting that, because your shareholder agreement was terminated, therefore your put option is invalid." They made many allegations toward Heejin, many of which would constitute terminating the contract if true. During the second injunction, HYBE's legal team accused her of leaking the shareholder agreement to a prominent economic outlet. The contract includes extensive confidentiality clauses that prohibit its disclosure to the general public and media without consultation of both parties. HYBE insists that this breach alone is a justifiable reason to terminate the shareholder agreement. Now, what exactly was revealed during this recent hearing, and what evidence was presented? The short answer is nothing, really. Both sides simply reiterated their stances, with HYBE asserting Heejin committed breach of trust and sought third-party investment to gain control over Ador. Heejin refutes this, maintaining her innocence and calling HYBE's actions against her retaliatory. She filed a separate lawsuit after the company refused to buy her shares in accordance with the put option, which the judge decided to merge with this case. HYBE's side did agree to buy her shares, but says they've executed their call option. A call option grants one owner, usually the majority owner, the right to buy the shares of another under certain conditions. It's basically a put option but in reverse, and many assume this would amount to a lesser payout for Heejin. Basically, HYBE doesn't want her to own her shares anymore, and Heejin doesn't want to own them either at this point. The dispute is about under which clause the sale will take place, the put option or the call option. Heejin says the shareholder agreement was valid when she exercised her put option, so she's entitled to the larger payout, while HYBE says their call option is valid either way and seeks to confirm the contract's termination. So instead of new evidence, we just got more arguing, prompting the court to raise concerns about the trial's efficiency. Heejin's law firm Si-Hyuk actually released a statement addressing this stall in progress. They claim HYBE failed to respond to their points regarding the invalidity of their shareholder agreement termination and only submitted documents less than a week before the hearing. They also allege that HYBE refused to provide concrete evidence until Heejin's side issues a rebuttal. Si-Hyuk implores HYBE to fulfill their legal responsibilities since they bear the burden of proof in this case. Si-Hyuk is right, by the way. I feel like a broken record, but I'll say it for the millionth time. Contracts are assumed valid until proven otherwise under South Korean law. HYBE is the one claiming the shareholder agreement is terminated, so they must prove this termination was justified. The same way NewJeans say their exclusive contracts with Ador are terminated, so they must prove their termination was valid. The burden of proof is on HYBE in this case, just like the burden of proof is on NewJeans regardless of who initiated the lawsuit. If you're wondering how these two cases affect each other, the answer isn't very straightforward. Heejin was not actually removed by HYBE. It was the Ador board who replaced her as CEO. This was done after HYBE dismissed her allies and installed their own loyalists. but Ador is still a separate entity legally speaking, so it'll be hard to prove this breached the shareholder agreement even if it is deemed valid. It will be even harder, if not impossible, to cite it as a breach of NewJeans' exclusive contract with Ador. The injunction court already noted that their contract does not require Min Heejin to be their CEO or even their producer. However, if her removal is found to be unlawful or HYBE's audit is proven to be retaliatory, they can build on that. It could possibly strengthen their claims about this entire ordeal being orchestrated to hurt their careers. It still requires additional evidence, but a judge may be more willing to believe this narrative if Min Heejin was indeed forced out of the company due to HYBE breaching their contracts with her. Please remember that all of this is alleged, but it's not a good sign that HYBE is dragging their feet with this shareholder agreement termination case. The judge has asked Min Heejin's side to submit rebuttals and for HYBE to provide additional evidence by the next hearing. I guess we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for future uploads.